This is the story of Marcia Blum. Marcia has made tremendous contributions to her community. She's worked in open adoptions, in hospice care, a senior program, and a tri-faith community effort. She's also worked tirelessly against sex trafficking and has worked with people in abusive situations. So, Marcia, let's talk about some of the personal situations you've observed during COVID-19. Are you aware of anyone who has actually contracted COVID?
I think the person that has impacted me most in that area is the pastor of my church. And he had been on a trip to Spain early when there was not concerns about Spain having an outbreak, and returned, had subsequently a meeting with the other tri-faith clergy and board members, and came down with symptoms shortly after, was tested positive, and that led to a quarantine for him and all the members who he had had any contact with. Immediately, the church was shut down and all events were either postponed temporarily, or they fairly quickly got things to be up and running via Zoom. So all of our services on Sundays, the different meetings, our board meetings became Zoom meetings. And in addition, there was concern about what happens to that sense of community. When you are Zoom, it's a great way and it gets to lots of people, but you don't have that interaction. We know that there could not be interaction, and there's not going to be any more of the hugging and shaking of hands that we were so used to. But what things can you do to keep a sense of personal connection? So it was set up that people on different boards or different committees would call and reach out to, we wanted every member of the congregation to be contacted. And those who felt a need or might not be able to get groceries, we found people who would be able to do that. Someone who was feeling down or depressed, we might have one of the Stevens ministers reach out to them. And so it was a constant way of keeping a sense of community and care and prayer among the people who were involved. And I think that's extended because we now have that service on our local TV channel once a week. And the pastor has kind of become a warning that this is real and it can happen to anybody. And you need to take this seriously and socially distance and quarantine if you have any problems. So he became a model for others of what to do, and that this is a problem that can impact anybody unknowingly.
And he recovered, I hope.
He did. There's no immediate plans to resume direct contact at services yet, but yes, he has. And it was not a very bad case, but I think it was one that was very useful in getting the message out.
You've also worked in abusive situations, and I've spoken with a number of people who feel this is a particularly difficult time when abuse is going on in a household. Not only do people not know that it's going on necessarily, but have you any advice for people that are in that abusive situation that do not know what to do?
For those who are in that situation, yes, there are many hotlines to call. There's local hotlines, there's a Boys Town national hotline. Certainly, in a dire situation, don't hesitate to call 911. people do have options. There's many services just based on your own community. I also think you can outreach to most churches, and someone there would get you in contact with someone who could be helpful. But the majority of cities have programs. Some might be through the YWCA, some might be through the Salvation Army, that specifically help in domestic abuse situations. For others who may see neighbors outside or hear yelling or see someone being hit, if you see something, say something, and not in a way that is dangerous to you, but call and make a report. It's better to have that person investigated and someone to check on them than to leave it unnoticed. And they may do nothing and it may be frustrating, but if there is a pattern, if people do call, if they're seeing that this is happening more and more, it's more likely that that individual or that child will get someone investigating the situation. So don't feel like it's not my responsibility. It's all of our responsibilities.
I think the most difficult part for people right now is that they are with the abuser 24/7. So there's no real way to call for help.
You know, I think that's true, except there's got to be times when you're in the bathroom or you're sleeping. Send a text to a friend. Reach out to a family member, somebody that you can trust. Look up the name and say, I need help. I'm afraid being here alone. And do that in the privacy of the bathroom, or take it in the shower, or whatever you need to do. And if you're afraid that someone will hear you, send a text and say, I cannot talk. I think that's probably the best way. I don't know. People are out walking. It may be that if you walk and could find a neighbor or somebody that you might know, or going to a store and using a phone there. I mean, people do take walks, so if there's an opportunity for you to get out, they may, sometimes someone abusive will not let them take a phone and they don't want them to have any contact. So it might be that you might need to try to reach out and trust somebody who will speak for you. Some neighborhoods have neighborhood watch signs in their windows, and it might be that would be a safe place to go up if that other person is not with you or not watching you.
And some people have said that it's a problem because it's a police officer who is doing the abuse in the home, and so therefore they're afraid to call the police.
Absolutely. In that situation, it might not be the police to call, although ultimately, if they need a restraining order or something, they would. But in that case, I would say find a way to get in touch with the domestic abuse program, because they do have safe houses that they can take a woman to, and they would, have the resources to find a way to pick them up. Now, again, with all the COVID, I don't know exactly how the situations are working, but people still are there and responding and using precautions and are there to help you.
Have you got any other advice for anyone else, or any other situations that you know of that people are dealing with at the community level?
Well, it's awfully difficult even on parents who have children around 24/7, and the terrible twos or the mouthy teenager or all. And I say, try to find ways to have private time. If you need to, go, if the the children are safe, go in the bathroom and take a long shower, or find a time to talk to a friend. This is tough, and finding supports or outlets for someone that can validate what you're going through, if possible, and it's safe, maybe have a relative give you a break. You know, like I am not seeing my grandson right now because they're off working and being exposed a lot. And typically I would be over there several times a week, having, you know, giving a break, spending time, letting them do things. And I know it's harder. And thankfully, on the other side, there's a younger family and they have some opportunities to get together. But I know, talking to them, you know, it's hard being a parent, and you need to find ways for time out and ways to connect with people who can listen and offer you support.
And I think it's especially hard when people are trying to work at home. And
Yes.
so they've got the work that they are responsible for and accountable for, and yet they're trying to monitor their kids and being on the computers, and it's hard. It's very hard.
It is. This is a really difficult time. And I know why people are so ready to get back to a normal. But I also think we have to be responsible with masks and hand washing and social distancing. And, you know, if you can find a small support system of people who aren't out doing a lot, but that you can trust, you know, exchange times with the kids, or FaceTime between the families and do something silly, or I don't know, they use the TikToks or little videos. Try to find fun or creative things as a family to do to release some of that tension. But 24/7 and trying to balance all of that is just, there's no simple answer. It's take it day by day and do the best you can, and forgive yourself if you yell or get frustrated, and say you're sorry. I mean, that we're all human and we do get upset, and this is a hard situation. And the kids, you know, when they're locked up and want to be out playing and can't go to the park, well, they're going to get also a little bit demanding and of time and attention, and needing to say, yes, let's plan to go out to the backyard at this time. But right now, Daddy has to work, and we will do this. You can sit by me or whatever. It always sounds so easy when you're not in the situation, but take it hour by hour, day by day, and do the best you can. But please, if you're short and yell, apologize. This is also a time to model how adults deal with difficult situations. So use it.
Good advice. Thank you so much. Thank you for participating.
Thank you, Nan.